the final element is laws. We've seen how Hindu extremists took power, but there is another element we need to look for, because although it often comes after extremists have got their hands into power, this is what they do next. They change the legislative environment. So let's summarize where we are. A vacuum gives the extremists a chance. A villain strategizes the way to power. This villain builds a movement, a cadre of dedicated and disciplined groups that go into society and get the job done. Then you need a lie or lies which motivate people to do violent things. You need mobs which respond to the lies and create chaos and put communities and societies on the defensive. And then a megaphone where the media is conscripted to push this extreme viewpoint and suppress alternative viewpoints. But this could all quickly unravel unless the legal fabric is tampered with. And so one of the first things extremists do when they get into power is they capture the judiciary. Passing laws are the primary way extremists embed their ideology or their polarizations into the social fabric of a society. And often this comes after the other elements, but not always, because, for example, Hitler was relatively quick in passing laws excluding the Jews, the Nuremberg laws they were called, and that was only 2 years after his rise to power in 1933. Aggressive secularists, particularly, are quick to try and leverage the judiciary to push their agenda. We actually call it judicial activism. And this has the advantage of imposing their view through elite connections and even stealth, until one day you find yourself on the wrong side of the law and you never even knew that law had passed. And also, of course, some laws can look quite innocuous on the statute book, but quite deadly to religious freedom in practice. For example, laws preventing hate speech look like a very good idea. But then one finds that the drafting is so broad that it outlaws almost any activity. For example, claiming that Christ would be the only way to God. Now, there are 3 big advantages of extremists passing laws to push their agenda. One is simply longevity. Laws can be quite hard to unpick. They can stick around generations after the extremists that pushed the law have gone. The second is legitimacy. It looks better if the discrimination appears legal. It enables the government to mount a kind of strong international defense. For example, if a pastor is removed from a church in China, it's never because of anything religious. It's always because the government says, oh, he broke a criminal law by abusing his co-workers or something. But the third is most important, and that is a law's capacity to introduce new limits on the freedom space. Laws are boundaries in that they regulate behavior, and in the hands of the right elite, create new boundaries that make it easier for the leaders and the extremists and harder for those they disagree with. And then you learn to live with these limits until, over time, it doesn't even occur for people to push against them. Laws create a kind of new normal. So laws are also part of the tactical armory of the extremist, even if they take time to pass. If they take time to pass, they often take even longer to dismantle, and by then, quite often, the culture has already shifted. So we have these 7 elements, a way to assess how persecution gets going in any setting, whether in a country or a region or even in an organization. And knowing this pattern gives us a way to resist persecution. So obviously we're going to need an awareness of persecution and its extent. That's what these 7 elements bring us. And we need an acceptance of conflict. We're in a battle. And sometimes we need the church to be purified, because if there is a vacuum that has allowed extremists to emerge, then we may have played our part in enabling them to succeed.